Welcome back to Real Estate. My name is Timothy, and in this episode, we're going to cover the residential auction market. Now, auctions aren't a prevalent means of transaction in Singapore, but it's interesting to note that an increasing number of buyers and sellers are entering the market. A common perception is that only distressed sales enter the auction market. However, when I spoke to Sharon Lee, Head of Auctions and Sales at Knight Frank, she shared an eye-opening view on this matter. A lot of people have this conception that only distressed sales can be found at auction. Is this usually the case?
That's a misconception by people in the past. Nowadays, we have more owner sale, sheriff sale, developer sale, MCST sale in our auction list. And for owners, why they want to put up property for auction is because of exposure-wise. Sometimes they believe that at auction it can get a good price. For example, a unit at Simple Road, we put up for auction. The opening price was 2.5, it was being transacted at 3.2 million. And this is a price that you can't get by private treaty sale. Auction do serve as a very transparent mode of sale, and it also has a wider exposure. It shortens the sales process for a property.
Does this mean that we'll see a spike in the number of mortgage sales this year?
I believe you'll see a spike in the number of mortgage sales this year, especially in the last half of the year. That's because the borrowers have to pay the full installment payment again this year. However, I think the spike only last half of the year is because the bank will actually give the borrowers some time to sell the property themselves by private treaty. We actually help an owner to sell his 2 shophouses at Tamnock Street at 7.5 million at auction. By private treaty, we actually help an owner to sell his 3 terraces, which he has been marketing for the last 2 years after auction at 7.35 million. He's very happy because finally he's able to sell the property.
As we've heard from Sharon, the auction market is just another means for private sellers to transact their properties. It's not always a mortgagee sale. At the height of the COVID-19 pandemic in 2020, the government stepped in with support measures to support those who could not make full loan repayments on their properties. But most of the support ended at the end of last year. Now, what does this mean for owners who are unwilling or unable to make full loan repayments on their properties this year? Let's speak to Joy Tan, Head of Auctions and Sales at M&T, to find out if the number of mortgage sales is imminent this year. A lot of the government loan repayment programs would have ended last year. Do you think we could see a spike in the number of mortgage sales this year?
We will definitely see a spike on the second half of this year, in view that MAS has actually offered several deferment payment schemes to those affected due to this pandemic, and will already end last year and may be extended. So therefore, we will see the second half year there will be more of the mortgage leasing surfacing out.
Besides residential non-landed properties, what other property types get put up for auction?
All property types can be put under auctions, such as residential, landed, non-landed, commercial, shops units, retail units, shop house. For industrial is strata factory, strata JTC detached factories. M&T has also gotten approval for auctioning HDB resale flats in the open markets. For such nature of HDB flat, it often sells very quickly in the markets. Last year, we did 3 marvelous property at the auctions. There's one, the Mang Sales, 2-story semi-D at Upper East Coast Road. We managed to clock in $500,000 higher than the reserve price. And another property, which is at EC at Sea Horizon in Pasir Ris, we managed to set a record price in terms of PSF within the developments at the May auctions. And last but not least, there's one, the bungalow by the owner, auction sales at Coven Road, and they have been selling in the open market for the past 1 year, and we managed to even clock in above the reserve price set by them.
Well, according to Joy, it's not just residential properties that go under the hammer. Commercial and industrial properties also get put up for auction. When Ep11 broke the story of a house linked to mysterious deaths, many wondered if the house would actually get sold when it was put up for auction in February 2018. To satisfy your curiosity, the house did get sold in under 20 minutes for $2.23 million. Want to find out why the auction market is an attractive option for buyers and sellers? let's ask mortgagee, managing partner of SRI Auctions, to find out what her outlook on the auction market is this year. The auction market has increasingly become an attractive option for some sellers. Why do you think this is the case?
Well, for sellers, they're attracted by the transparent mode of sale. At the same time, 5 or 10% deposit is collected upon success. So this is attractive because there's no cooling off period of 14 days or more. And at the same time, for sellers, it's also a very good way to achieve optimum price within a specific time frame.
So, a lot of people believe that the auction market is dominated by distressed sales. Based on your experience, do you think this is the case?
We did a calculation, or rather on the data for the past 10 years, about 70% are all owners listings in the auction scene. So it's not like all mortgagee sale.
And what about last year?
Well, for last year, I think the numbers came out to 50-50. The 10 years is 60 to 70%.
Loan repayment moratoriums offered by the government would have expired at the end of last year. Do you think this could translate to a higher number of distressed sales this year?
Yes, in fact, we see that in January and February, there are more mortgagee sales coming on board. Simply because typically for all the years before, January and February are the quieter months because of Chinese New Year or the festive seasons. Well, we do foresee that in the second half of this year, probably more will come on board because they do need a time frame for the legal proceeding for repossessing properties.
What advice would you give to buyers or sellers who want to enter the auction market?
Well, for buyers, I would say that just come to the auction hall and check it out. If you spot properties that you like, do arrange for viewing, explore, and just feel free to come and bid for the property.
In general, how did the auction market perform last year, and what are some key trends you expect to see this year?
Okay, last year we see that in 2021, 31 properties were sold under the hammer, totaling about 86 million, which is sizable considering the market. And as compared to 2020, where only 17 properties were sold during auction, amounting to some 28-29 million. Indeed, there's a big jump on value and number, but also not forgetting in 2020 we have circuit breaker, we have disruption to the auction scene. So some half a year there's no auction events.
What about the types of properties that might garner interest?
Well, primarily still residential in nature, but with the cooling measure in place, the recent ones, we do see that probably increased interest may also shift a little bit more into the non-residential properties.
Seems like there'll be many notable transactions that will close in the auction market this year. Now, besides the properties that go under the hammer that we cover, we're also going to cover other notable transactions that will close over the next 10 months. Thanks for watching Real Estate. Real opinions, real statements. See you next month.